Hey kids, welcome back to some more science. Science is cool. We are going to continue our exploration of your body with yet another system. I've taken off my bone sweatshirt because we already learned about the bones. These next few weeks we're going to be learning about what's inside. Now my shirt does still have bones on it, but we're going to talk about something this week right behind this big sternum bone. That is my heart. This week, you're going to learn all about your circulatory system. Your circulatory system is your heart and the blood and all little veins and arteries and vessels that connect everything together. It's a super important system. Let's start off this week's lesson on the circulatory system, heart and blood, with a book.
What's inside me? My heart and blood.
My heart and blood. Arteries, veins, heart. Put your hand on your chest. You might be able to feel your heart beating. Your heart is always working. It pumps blood around your body. Your heart is shaped like a bumpy ball. The rib bones in your chest protect it. This bumpy ball is hollow inside. It is divided into 4 parts called chambers. Blood goes into your heart and out again. The blood travels all over your body. Your heart sends it to your head, your arms and legs, and all your inside parts too. Then the blood travels back to the heart. Your body needs blood because blood is filled with oxygen. Oxygen helps your arms and legs move. It helps you think and breathe. Red blood cells carry oxygen to all parts of your body. Blood carries nutrients from the food you eat. Your body needs these nutrients to grow. Blood also collects waste from parts of your body. Waste is material that your body cannot use. Your heart pumps blood to the body through arteries. Those are the kind of purpley ones. Arteries are tubes that carry blood away from your heart. Blood goes back to your heart through the tubes called veins. The veins are kind of the reddish looking ones there. Some arteries and veins are so small that you can't see them. They are called capillaries. When you exercise, your heart pumps fast. That is because your body needs a lot of oxygen and nutrients to work hard. When you sleep, your body is resting. Your heart pumps slowly. The white blood cells in your blood are in charge of protecting your body. They fight germs. Have you ever cut your finger? You may have seen a drop of blood. Germs can get into that cut. Around your cut, blood gets thicker and thicker. Then it clots or closes, making a scab. Germs cannot get in. Your body keeps your blood clean. Blood passes through the kidneys, and the kidneys clean the blood. Those are like bean-shaped thing that the arrows are pointing to. Your heart, blood, arteries, and veins are called your circulatory system. Sometimes your heart pumps fast, sometimes it pumps slow, but it's always pumping and keeping you alive. The end. Let's start off talking about our blood. These 3 pitchers, which is about 4.5 liters, is about how much blood you and I have in our body. Well, by the time you're 5 or 6, this is about how much blood you'll have in your body. When you're a baby, that's how much blood you have. Your body makes more and more blood as you grow, until finally, this is how much blood is circulating in your circulatory system all around your whole body. Your heart is the central part of your circulatory system, pumping that blood all over, but it's going to every part of your body. Your toes, your tummy, your brain, your fingertips, everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. I want you to think about your body as being a whole world. And inside your body, there are little tiny houses living everywhere, little tiny houses underwater, let's say, everywhere in your body. Everybody's fine and dandy living in their little houses all over your body, in your toes, your fingertips, your brain. But there's a problem with these little houses. Because they're underwater, they can't breathe unless somebody brings them more oxygen, more air to breathe. And they can't really go out to the grocery store to get food because they're underwater. So what do? Well, looks like you're going to need yourself a road system and maybe some delivery service to bring air and food to your little underwater house so that you can stay alive and healthy. That is the job of your blood vessels. The oxygen comes from your lungs right here, which we haven't talked about yet. We're going to talk about that next week. But your lungs bring in oxygen and give it to your blood. Like a little car going by, zoop, the oxygen hops right on. Then that oxygen is delivered all over your body. On top of that, down in your intestines and your digestive system, which we'll talk about in a few weeks, it picks up nutrition. So food and air are now in your bloodstream, and off it goes to all parts of your body. Meanwhile, in those cells, once the oxygen gets used up, it gives off carbon dioxide, which is poison to our body. We have to get rid of it. So after the good stuff gets delivered to your cells, all the bad stuff gets dumped onto it like a little tiny garbage truck. And now the little blood goes zipping off around your body. It brings the carbon dioxide, the bad air, back to your lungs where we can breathe it back out. And the whole cycle starts again. So what color is your blood? If you look at my t-shirt, you can see blue lines and red lines. So is my blood blue? Or is it red? Well, when people are drawing pictures like this, trying to show your body, they want to show that some of the blood is coming to your heart and lungs and some is going away. Blood that has a lot of oxygen in it from breathing, going through your lungs, is very red, bright red. That's this stuff. Once that blood goes to the rest of your body and gives off the good oxygen and takes off the carbon dioxide and heads back to your heart, it's less red, it's not as bright. And so people tend to draw that as more blue. So my blood isn't really blue, but when there's not a lot of oxygen in it, because it's coming back to my heart, it's less red. It's more of a purpley red, but I guess that'd be too hard to look at. So my blood isn't really blue and red. It's mostly like bright red and not so bright red. So let's take a look at your blood vessels. Remember last week when we could feel your skeleton inside your body? You can see your blood vessels too. Take a look at your hand. This works better on a grown-up hand because grown-ups like me, our blood vessels tend to stick out a lot. But if you look at your hand, you can see some blue lines there. The same with the inside of your arm. Those are your blood vessels. Let's talk about the different parts of the blood. When you see blood, maybe because you're bleeding or whatever, it kind of looks like this. Not quite as watery as this, but it's red, right? But it turns out that this is made up of different parts, 4 different parts: plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Here's how these items go together in your blood. First, there's plasma. I'm using corn syrup because for this demonstration, it's going into a Ziploc, and I don't want it to squirt all over the place. Real plasma isn't nearly this thick. It's more water-like. It's kind of a yellowy color. I guess my corn syrup is more white. Plasma is the first part of your blood. The next part is your white blood cells. I'm using mini marshmallows because they're tasty. In goes some white blood cells. White blood cells are used to fight infection. When white blood cells see a germ in your body that shouldn't be there, they rush on over there and fight them. If the white blood cells win and gobble up that germ, then you don't get sick. If those white cells lose, you get sick. Those are your white blood cells. Next come your red blood cells. I'm using little cinnamon candy here. They're pretty spicy. They're kind of like, because they're smaller than the white blood cells, red blood cells are smaller than white blood cells. Real red blood cells are sort of shaped like a donut without the hole in it, just a little dent in there. In go my red blood cells. These red blood cells are the ones that bring all the oxygen and nutrients to the rest of your body. These are carrying all the good stuff. These are fighting the germs. This is kind of like providing something slippery for everything to run in. Lastly, let's talk about platelets. I've got some candy, star-shaped candy things in here, or flowery-shaped candy things in here. These are our platelets. In they go. A platelet's main job is to stop bleeding. Well, I'll tell you how that works in just a minute, but let's take a look at what we got here. Here's my whole blood. If I take it out and spin it in a special machine, I can break it into its parts. It would be white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and plasma. Let's talk about how this all works in your body now. I have here a drawing on a piece of paper with my skin and the hair on my skin, and then right underneath my skin are capillaries. Now you can see the big veins on my hand, but there's also really teeny tiny veins on my hand. Those are the capillaries. Inside the capillaries, I have my red blood cells, I have my white blood cells, I have platelets, and then I'm not going to pour corn syrup on here, but the liquid in there would be plasma. Now, let's pretend a germ comes in. Here's a germ. Rawr, rawr, rawr. Germs get in through my skin sometimes when I cut myself, or they can get in when I'm breathing, and somehow they ended up in my blood system. There's a germ. So what would happen with that germ is these white blood cells would all come rushing over and try to eat those germs. Gobble, 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 gobble. If it succeeds, I'm not sick. If the germ gets in there and starts to make more germs, well, then I'm going to get sick. My white blood cells will continue to come over here and try to beat these things. Eventually they'll win and I'll stop being sick and I'll get healthy again. Now let's say I cut myself. If I cut my skin, say I poke myself accidentally with a stick or something, that can actually break through the skin, which is like a barrier on my capillaries, and some of that blood can leak out to the surface and start bleeding. Now, you remember how much blood I have in my body. A little bit of blood like that is not going to be a big problem, but I do need to stop the bleeding or it will be a big problem. This is only a tiny capillary. There's not a lot of blood in these teeny tiny capillaries, but when you cut your skin, it does bleed. So, how do you stop bleeding? Well, here's the blood coming out, and it's coming out because there's a hole right there in the capillary where the blood is trying to flow. So what happens is all my little platelets rush over to that hole and they lock together. The platelets kind of look like that. And they lock together and they form a shield to keep the blood from coming out. That happens on the surface too. They block up everything. Block, 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 block. On the surface, this little plug will dry out and become a scab. When you see a scab on your body, that is old dried out platelets. Eventually what will happen is new skin will start to grow underneath that scab and close off, and then the scab will fall off and your skin will be all better. Good job, platelets. Thanks for healing me up. Here's a little demonstration to show you how much of each part of blood is made up of all these four components: red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and plasma. This corn syrup here is going to be my plasma. About half of your blood volume, half of your blood of your whole blood is plasma. Then come the platelets and the white blood cells. You don't have very many of those as far as blood volume goes. My olive oil is going to represent that. Just a little bit there. See it? That much plasma, that much white blood cells and platelets. Red blood cells make up the other almost half. So you can see, looking at the amount of whole blood, if I were to just take some blood out of my body, about half of it would be plasma. Almost half of it, almost the same amount, would be red blood cells. And this very top section, that's the platelets and the white blood cells. Most of your blood is made up of the red stuff and the plasma. This is important to know because it turns out that blood is something that one person can give to another. As of right now, we don't have a way to make blood, like fake blood, in a laboratory. Scientists can't reproduce all of the things that blood does, which means If you have a big surgery or you have an accident that makes you lose a lot of blood, I'm not talking about a small cut, but a lot of blood, your health could be having a hard time. And in that case, you can receive blood from somebody else. People like myself can go to a special place and give some blood that can then be given to somebody else. That's called blood donation. How much blood can I give away, you might wonder? Well, when I go donate blood, they take a pint of blood. Remember, this is how much blood is in my body, and a pint looks like that. That's a pint of blood. You can see I still have a lot of blood left. So giving away this much blood, it's no big deal to me.
Here I am doing my monthly blood donation. You can see the bags hanging in the background. I'm actually donating plasma and platelets. That machine takes out my whole blood, spins it, gives me back the red cells, and keeps the platelets and the plasma. It takes a month for me to remake that plasma, but only about 2 weeks to replace the platelets.
So where does all this blood come from? Your body makes blood. It makes it in your bone marrow.
At any given moment, trillions of cells are traveling through your blood vessels, sometimes circling the body in just 1 minute. Each of these cells has its origins deep in your bones. Bones might seem rock solid, but they're actually quite porous inside. Large and small blood vessels enter through these holes. And inside most of the large bones of your skeleton is a hollow core filled with soft bone marrow. Marrow contains fat and other supportive tissue, but its most essential elements are blood stem cells. These stem cells are constantly dividing. They can differentiate into red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, and send hundreds of billions of new blood cells into circulation every day. These new cells enter the bloodstream through holes in small capillaries in the marrow. Through the capillaries, they reach larger blood vessels and exit the bone.
Now that you've learned about your blood and how important it is to all the parts of your body, let's talk about how that blood gets to all those parts of the body. That is the job of your heart. I have a couple examples of hearts here. They're different sizes. Hearts depend on the size of the person. Your heart is about the size of your fist. My fist is bigger than your fist because I'm a grown-up. My heart is bigger than your heart. Here's a little movie to show you how your heart works.
Your heart is a pump. It's a muscular organ about the size of your fist and is located slightly left of center in your chest. Oxygen-poor blood, blue blood, returns to the heart after circulating through your body. The right side of the heart, composed of the right atrium and ventricle, collects and pumps the blood to the lungs through the pulmonary arteries. The lungs refresh the blood with a new supply of oxygen, making it turn red. Oxygen-rich blood, red blood, then enters the left side of the heart and is pumped through the aorta to the body to supply tissues with oxygen. 4 valves within your heart keep your blood moving the right way. They open only one way and only when pushed on. Each valve opens and closes once per heartbeat.
You can hear your heart beating using this special tool. You may have seen this at the doctor's office. It's called a stethoscope. It's got a tube that goes in your ears. Push, push, push. That's what I'm listening to. Push, push, push. I can hear my heart, but I'm not listening to the pumping. What I'm listening to is those valves inside. When they open and the blood goes whooshing through them, I can hear that on my stethoscope. That's pretty cool. The heart is a muscle. The best thing you can do for your heart is to exercise it. Like any other muscles, the more you move them, the more exercises, sports or walking or jumping or biking, the more you do, the stronger your muscles will be, including your heart. To make sure a body makes good blood, you need to eat foods that are rich in iron. Now, the best source of iron is in red meat, but not everybody can or wants to eat red meat. Don't worry, there are other things you can eat. You can get iron from green leafy vegetables like spinach or kale. You can get it from tofu, apricots, dried beans, and of course anything that's iron fortified like cereals and pastas. Before you move on to your art project, here's a silly little video on the circulation system.
craze that's sweeping the nation. Come on, do the circulation. Starts with your heart, what a great sensation. Come on, do the circulation. Out through your arteries, in through your veins. Your heart pumps your blood, then it does it again. So come on, everyone, get it on, everyone. To circulation. So come on, everybody, exercise your body for circulation. Circulation, everybody form a circle now. Circulation, like your blood, you just start moving around. Circulation is a function that's so out of sight. And if your feet fall asleep, then you're not circulating right. You got 4 heart parts to pump the blood. Dub, dub. Yeah, that's circulation. Left and right ventricle, left and right atrium. Yeah, they do it. They circulate, they pump blood through your lungs for oxygen. And then your arteries take it through to your body, and your veins bring the old blood back to be renewed. Circulation takes nutrition to your cells and gets rid of carbon dioxide and waste as well. Circulation is the function that's so out of sight. And if your hands are cold, then you're not circulating right. Well, your blood is such a life-giving potion. Like a river, it's always in motion. From your head to your toes, doing good as it goes. It's a big, red, beautiful ocean. Now the blood's not bad, it's kind of special. Yeah. Come dig it, circulating with red and white corpuscle cells. Yeah. Come do it, circulation. Red cells carry oxygen. White cells fight the germs. So come on, come do it. Yeah. Come do it, circulation. So come on, come do it. With your heart, come do it. Circulation. Circulation. Everybody form a circle now. Circulation, like your blood, you just start moving around. Circulation, it's a function that's so out of sight. So come on, look around, man, you'll be circulating right. There's a great new craze that's sweeping the nation. Come on, do the circulation. Starts with your heart, what a great sensation. Come do it, circulate out through your arteries and through your veins. Your heart pumps your blood, then it does it again. Come on, everybody get it on, everybody. Circulation. So come on, everybody get it on, everybody. The circulation. The circulation.
Our project time. You're going to need this template, so take a screenshot, print it out. If you're at school, your teacher will have what you need. Here are the supplies you'll need for this week's art project. The template that you should have just printed out, a scissors, some glue, either a glue stick or squirty glue, a red and a blue crayon or marker, scissors, and your body bag.
Let's get started on adding your heart and circulatory system, your veins and your blood vessels, to your body bag that you should have started last week. Last week we put on a spine and we put on some ribs, and they're looking pretty good. They're nice and dry. So now we're going to add our heart and our blood vessels. We got to flip this bag over to the front side. And if you're at home, you'll print this out. You're only going to need the heart part right now. So set the intestines apart. That's a different system. We'll do that one another week, but don't throw that away. You will use that another week. Keep the heart part. Now we're going to color this heart. I'm going to use a crayon, and you can color it any color you want. I mean, we learned in our video that a heart is mostly kind of reddish, like this. So I'm going to color mine red. But if you happen to like a rainbow heart, have fun with that. Okay, now that I'm colored, I gotta cut it out. Ta-da! Now I'm gonna glue it on my bag. This is the top of my bag where my head is. My heart's not down here. My heart's not over there. My heart's not up in my neck. My heart is in the middle of my chest, remember? Right here, right behind my sternum in the middle. So that's going to be about here on my body bag. So I'm going to get some glue, and you can use a glue stick for this. I think that the liquid glue will probably hold it a little better, so I'm going to use some liquid glue. And I'm going to stick it so that the little ventricles, the pointy part's kind of at the bottom, and the ventricles where the blood comes in and out is at the top, like that. Be careful not to stick your heart sideways or upside down. It's gotta go that way, like that. Okay? Now, I know that my heart is busy pumping blood through my body and that blood is coming back. When it goes out from my lungs, it's super red because of all the oxygen. When it comes back with less oxygen, more carbon dioxide, it's kind of more bluish color. So I'm going to use some blue and red crayons to draw some blood going around my body. Some will go up to my brain, maybe out to my arms, down to other parts. I'm just going to draw some blue and red lines going everywhere. That's my circulation. And that's all we need for this week's art project. Set that aside to dry. We're going to add more body parts next week. That's all I have this week on your circulatory system, your heart and your blood. Learning about the body is so cool, and science is cool.